You know, we're always told that building wealth is some kind of complex math problem, all about spreadsheets and stock charts. But what if I told you that's not really the case? The truth is, for most of us, the real game is played inside our own heads. So today, we're going to dive into the psychology of money and see why our behavior, not our brilliance, is what truly builds our financial future. So let's just start with this huge question, right? Why on earth do we see so many incredibly smart people, doctors, lawyers, engineers, who are just terrible with money? It's not because they're not intelligent, it's because they fall into a trap of misunderstanding the fundamental difference between looking rich and actually being wealthy. And this, right here, is the absolute core of it. Being rich is what you see. It's a high salary. It's a fancy car, the big house. It's loud. But being wealthy, that's what you don't see. It's the money that hasn't been spent. It's the investments that are quietly growing in the background, buying you something way more valuable than a car. Freedom. And mixing these two up is the first and maybe the biggest trap of all. Okay, so what's the biggest hurdle to building that quiet, unseen wealth? Well, let's start with the invisible enemy, the one that's working against us from the inside, our own brain when it's under the constant pressure of scarcity.
Researchers have a name for this: the cognitive tax. Think of your brain's processing power like your phone's battery. Every single day, the stress of just trying to make ends meet, of juggling bills, it acts like a massive tax on that battery. It just drains your focus, leaving you with almost no mental energy left for the important stuff, like planning for the future.
So, what does this tax actually cost you? Well, the impact is frankly staggering. Study after study shows that living with that constant financial stress can temporarily drop your cognitive capacity by about 13 IQ points. And if 13 IQ points sounds a little abstract, let me put it this way. It's the same mental hit you'd take from pulling an all-nighter. Now ask yourself, would you make your most critical, long-term financial decisions right after staying awake for 36 hours? Of course not. But for millions of people, that's their baseline reality every single day. And it's not just some vague hit to your IQ. Look at how this actually breaks down. That financial scarcity we talked about, it directly attacks your fluid intelligence, your ability to problem solve on the fly. And that constant worry about the budget, that absolutely tanks your executive control. You know, the very thing that stops you from making impulse purchases. It all creates what scientists call tunneling. You become so focused on the immediate problem right in front of you that you literally can't see the long-term solutions off to the side. So, if scarcity is the enemy inside our heads, what about the pressures from the outside world? Well, that brings us to the second huge problem, the performative wealth trap. This is the simple, brutal irony that trying to look wealthy is the absolute surest way to never actually become wealthy. Let's just break down the difference here. Performative wealth is all about signaling, right? It's leasing the new BMW, posting the 5-star dinner on Instagram. It's all about prioritizing liabilities, things that lose value. But genuine wealth, it's the complete opposite. It's all about prioritizing appreciating assets, like investments, skills, or a business. It's quiet. It values quality over logos, and almost always, it's kept private. Writer Morgan Housel has this brilliant little idea he calls the man in the car paradox. And it goes like this. When you see someone driving a Ferrari, you almost never think, wow, the person driving that car is so cool. Instead, what you think is, wow, if I had that car, people would think I'm cool. We use their possession as a mirror for our own desire for respect. It's such a subtle but incredibly profound insight into our psychology.
All right, so we've looked at the internal traps and the external traps. Enough of the problems. So what actually works? Let's flip this around and look at the solution, the actual evidence-backed habits of people who successfully build wealth.
Just look at this. This one chart explains so much. The difference in this one single habit is absolutely massive. Research shows that 88% of wealthy people read for learning and self-improvement every single day. For the poor, that number is just 2%. And we're not talking about reading novels for fun. This is about treating knowledge as an asset that compounds. Real wealth isn't built on a lottery ticket. It's built on the compounding interest of tiny daily habits just like this.
And this lines up perfectly with the classic findings from the book, The Millionaire Next Door. They found the typical millionaire isn't who you think. They're not a celebrity in Beverly Hills. Nope, they're the small business owner down the street who lives well below their means, drives a reliable 5-year-old car, and values their financial freedom way, way more than showing off their social status. They are masters of financial defense, not just offense.
So, how do we actually do this? How do we go from just knowing the stuff to putting it into practice in our own lives? Well, it all comes down to consciously rewiring our own habits, to building a whole new behavioral architecture for ourselves.
And let's be clear, willpower is not enough. You can't just try harder. You need a system. So here's a simple one. First, identify your trigger. What's the thing that makes you want to spend? Let's say it's stress. Okay. Second, substitute the response. Instead of opening up Amazon, go for a walk or listen to a song. You have to replace the bad habit with a good one. Third, make that good habit super obvious. And fourth, this is the secret weapon, add friction. Make the bad habit harder to do. Unsubscribe from marketing emails. Delete your saved credit card info. Make it easier to do the right thing and much, much harder to do the wrong one.
And let's end with this, because this is the whole point. Ultimately, building wealth is not about piling up money so you can swim in it like Scrooge McDuck. It's about buying back your own time. The highest form of wealth isn't a Lamborghini. It's the freedom to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. That is the ultimate prize. So the question to leave you with is, what behaviors are you choosing today to buy yourself more freedom tomorrow?